They called her the quiet one. In the narrow lanes of a small town in Rajasthan, Asha moved like a whisper. Soft steps, eyes lowered, her sari always neatly tucked, as if every fold held back a story too painful to unfold. She had once in the laughter of her home, the woman with a singing voice that made children stop their play and listen. But ever since that rainy afternoon 3 years ago, the day they brought back the body of her husband, wrapped in tricolor cloth, she had stopped singing. She had stopped speaking much. 2. Left alone with 2 small children, Avni, barely 6, and Kian, a toddler just learning to walk. Asha faced a life she had never prepared for. Her husband, Raghav, was a soldier. He had left with pride in his step and a promise in his voice. "I'll be back before Avni's birthday." But promises don't always survive bullets, and heroes sometimes return home in silence. In the beginning, people came. Relatives, neighbors, officials. They brought food, money, condolences. But grief has an expiration date in the eyes of society. After a few months, the visits stopped, the money slowed, and Asha found herself sitting on the floor of her tiny house, her children asleep beside her, asking questions no one could answer. Why me? Why so early? How will I survive? There were days when she couldn't afford milk, nights when she would eat only water-soaked roti, so her kids had enough. Her hands trembled from hunger, but she never let her children see it. She wiped her tears before entering their room each morning, wearing a smile stitched together from broken dreams. Everyone said, "Remary, you're young." But Asha looked at her daughter and thought, how do I teach her strength if I run for mine? She tried sewing. The pay was meager. Then she tried cleaning houses. Some respected her, most pitied her, and a few whispered cruel things. A widow with 2 kids, alone, vulnerable, and yet somehow still holding herself together. That bothered people. But something changed one morning. Avni came back from school, her eyes red. When Asha asked, the little girl hesitated, then whispered, "A boy said I don't have a father, so I'll never be anything." Asha didn't respond. She simply hugged her daughter tighter than she ever had. That night, after putting both kids to bed, she stood in front of a cracked mirror and stared at herself. She was tired, but not defeated. She had lost her husband. She would not lose herself. She began waking up before dawn. While the town slept, she cooked, cleaned, and studied. Yes, studied. She borrowed old books from the local school teacher and taught herself basic computer skills using a second-hand phone. She practiced English by reading newspapers out loud. Every evening, after finishing her housework, she wrote ideas in a tattered notebook. What can I do? What am I good at? One day it struck her. She had a gift, her voice. She used to sing, remember? But now she used it differently. She started telling stories, real stories of women like her, of strength, lost courage. She recorded her voice reading motivational lines in Hindi. Her children giggled the first time they heard her. Mama sounds famous. Avni said, clapping. A neighbor's son helped her upload the recordings to YouTube. They called the channel Asha Kiawaz. The first few videos barely got any views, but she didn't stop. She recorded every day after putting her kids to bed. In her small kitchen, under a hanging bulb, she poured her soul into the mic slowly. The comments started coming. Your voice gave me hope. I'm a widow too. I feel seen. You made me cry, but also made me get up. She wasn't just a widow anymore. She was a warrior with a voice that healed others. 6 months in, one video went viral. A story about a mother who raised 3 kids alone. It was raw, emotional, and true. That night, her phone didn't stop buzzing. Subscribers poured in. Emails, too, from women asking for help, from NGOs wanting to collaborate, from news channels inviting her to speak. But she didn't let fame distract her. She used the income to buy a better mic, then a laptop. She taught her daughter how to edit videos. She taught her son how to help with thumbnails. We are a team, she told him, and our story isn't over yet. She started an initiative called Shabda Se Shakti, Power Through Words. She taught women from nearby villages how to share their voices, how to tell their stories. Some cried the first time they heard themselves played back. They had never imagined they were worth listening to. One afternoon, while sipping tea on her porch, a car pulled up. A man stepped out, an officer from Delhi. He had watched all her videos. "We want you to speak at a national conference," he said. "You're changing lives." Asha looked at her children, who beamed with pride. She had once feared they'd grow up broken. But now, they were blooming, resilient, kind, and proud of their mother. That night, before sleeping, Avni placed a handmade card on her pillow. It read, "Mama, you're stronger than Papa." And he was a soldier. Asha cried, not from pain this time, but from healing. Today, Asha's voice echoes far beyond her little home. She's been featured in magazines, invited to radio shows. Her channel has millions of views, but she still records in her kitchen, still wears simple cotton saris, still tucks her children in every night with stories of courage, not the kind found in books, but the kind found in a woman who lost everything and still chose to build a world of hope. If you're listening right now, broken, widowed, abandoned, forgotten, remember Asha. She didn't wait for a savior. She became her own. And so can you. You are not just your pain. You are your power. You are your voice. You are the hero someone is waiting to hear from. And no matter how dark your past may feel, there is always light when you choose to become it. Now is the time. Not when the world claps, but when you decide to rise. Months later, Asha stood on a grand stage in Delhi, holding a mic, dressed in a simple sari with a small bindi that shimmered beneath the spotlight. In front of her sat hundreds, women, students, ministers, journalists. But she wasn't nervous. She wasn't afraid. Her hands didn't tremble anymore. She looked at the audience and said, "I didn't choose to be a widow, but I chose what came after." As she shared her story, a wave of silence swept through the hall. Not the kind that's empty, but the kind filled with respect. Some cried. Some smiled. Everyone stood when she finished. After the event, a young woman approached her. She looked fragile, like someone trying hard not to fall apart. She whispered, "I lost my husband too. I haven't spoken to anyone since. But today, I felt alive again. Because of you." Asha placed a hand on her shoulder and said, "Then promise me one thing. Let your silence end with strength." The woman nodded through her tears. And in that moment, Asha knew her story wasn't just survival. It was a beginning for others too. A ripple of courage sent out into a world that desperately needed more. One evening, as rain poured outside and thunder rolled across the sky, Asha sat with her children on the floor of their modest home. Her daughter looked up and asked, "Mama, were you ever scared?" Asha paused, eyes glistening, replied, "Every day. But I didn't let fear decide what kind of mother I would be." They hugged her tightly, unaware of how her broken past had forged a future not just for them, but for hundreds of others. Outside, the rain kept falling, but inside,